You can just stand here. Hey guys, today my gym was super cold and my heater works great, but unfortunately I don't have a fan system, so part of the room gets super hot and part of the room gets super cold. So the mat was like super cold, so we end up just training on the carpeted area of my gym, and I end up just teaching my students some stick fighting. I only have about 2 years of Filipino stick fighting. My approach to stick fighting is a little bit different than the way it was taught to me. I think I'm lucky that I train in MMA, I train in combat sports, so I have the luxury of observing how people fight. And then what I do is I take what I learned from people I train with in stick fighting, Filipino stick fighting, Tally, Eskrima, etc., and I apply it to my fighting curriculum. One of the person who really influenced me was my mentor. His name's Alfredo Garcia, Alfred Garcia. He was one of the first batch of kickboxers in the Philippines back in the 70s. And his brother is a full contact stick fighting champion. The style that him and his brother both trained in was called Yao Yan. It's a Filipino style of Muay Thai. Okay, and anyways, him and his brother developed a style called Shibukan, and basically it's called tried and tested. So basically it's kickboxing, or think of it as a street fight with sticks. So in other words, they don't build the whole system around fighting with sticks. They built the system on just basically a street fight, and they just happen to have a stick in their hand. Right? And so that's my approach. I'm not discounting stuff that was taught to me, but what I realized is that when you train in a martial art, you end up learning a lot of stuff for the sake of that martial art versus for fighting purposes. So at my school, when my students, hopefully when they get a black belt for me or close to it, I like them to get exposure to different system of fighting, or for that matter, different way of movement. And so for me, I believe that you gotta have a clinch game. So that's that you get a clinch game from doing wrestling, Muay Thai, to a certain extent judo. Judo, you get a clinch game or jacket wrestling game. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, you get a ground submission game. In wrestling, you get a scrappling game. In Muay Thai and boxing, you get a striking game. That's all those things are great, but then you also have to have a game or the ability to fight with sticks, right? And so, for me, I'm influenced by the stick fighting system of the Filipino system because those are people I used to train with. If I have exposure to other people, I try to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And so I try to teach my students edge weapons, and I try to teach my students edge weapon and then blunt weapon. Okay, and then finally, I have not had a chance to train in this yet, but I want to do sidearm. Okay. Hey, are you here to pick up something?
No, I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Yeah.
It's going to take a moment.
Yeah. So today, because it was so cold, we ended up training in the carpeted area, and I want my students to learn how to fight with sticks. And why? Because an incident happened last week on the bridge in London. There was a bridge in London where terrorists went around stabbing people, and I guess he ran into a building, and one guy took a fire extinguisher and sprayed at him, and another guy grabbed a whale tusk and was like keep fending him away and stabbing him. And so in my personal opinion is that you may know how to strike, you may know MMA, but at the end of the day, you want functional martial art. You want a martial art that is able to defend your family, right? And so for me, I believe you have to learn how to use sidearm, you have to learn how to use blunt weapon, which is sticks, and you have to learn how to use edge weapon, which is knives, okay? The other thing is you got to figure out what's the motivation behind